Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today I will talk about what the difference between monocular vision and binocular vision. In monocular vision, the eye sees a two-dimensional image in motion, which is sufficient at near distance, but not from further away. The binocular vision, both eyes are used together to perceive motion of the object by tracking the differences in size, location, and angle of the object between the two eyes. Assalamu alaikum. Today I will talk about analysis of circle zen. Fiber analysis of zen or common tendinous ring superior orbital fissure into two components protein on orbital apex enclosed by analysis is called oculomotor foramen. Structural traveling outside this foramen are LMSFT, lacrimal nerve, and brains of middle meeting artery, as super of Islamic vein foramen nerve, T trochlear nerve. Structural traveling within this foramen are NASO, unnecessary nerve, A epididymis nerve, as a sympathetic nerve, O two division of oculomotor nerve, superior and inferior, in addition to optic nerve and optic artery.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today I am going to tell you about the contralateral hemianopsia, and it is also known as a unilateral involvement of optic tract, lateral geniculate, nucleus, optic radiation, and occipital cortex opposite to the side of field of loss. It is a contrast by temporal hemianopsia. The causes of contralateral hemianopsia, I can tell you about the causes of this. First of all, the most common type of this vision is due to stroke, and number two, it is estimated that tumors and inflammation and injuries are also involved in this type of lesion. Now I'm going to tell you about the percentages of this type of contralateral lesions. First one, I can say that it is estimated that 70% of all the injuries leading to hemianopsia are 15% are due to tumors, and 5% are due to bleeding in the brain. So we can say that in tumors, injuries, and bleeding in brain leading to this type of hemianopsia lesion. Now I'm going to tell you about the symptoms of this disease. First one is not concentrating on objects, frustrations, and drifting in the movements. These all symptoms are the lesions of contralateral hemianopsia. So we can say that in any disturbance due to this, this lesion we will face. Thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today I am going to tell you about the versions of movements of two opposite eyeballs, and there are four movements in the eyeballs. Number one, skilled movements. Number two, smooth movements. Number three, vergence movements. Number four, vestibular ocular movement. And now I am going to tell you about the first one. Movement is skilled movements. This type of movements are very rapid, and this is also known as the ballistic movements of the eye that is changed according to their fixation point, and this movement is an involuntary. Number two, the movement name is smooth movements. Smooth movements are slow movements than other one, and this movement is a voluntary movement. This movement is in voluntary, mean in our control. So this movement is different to number one, scared movements. And number three, I can say that the third one is the vergence movement. This movement is different from last two movements. This movement is used for our eye in the for places or objects that take place from the distance from eye. I can say that if I can see at that place, so this movement is included. And number fourth movement is vestibulo-ocular movement. This movement is also different from previous three movements. According to the external world located places, this movement is involved. If any pathology in these four movements, we can not see objects clearly, or we cannot move our eyeballs easily. Thank you.
Topic is accommodation of pathway of accommodation of effects. First we read film magazine and then go optic nerve, then go optic chiasma to optic tract, and then go later geniculate body to optic radiation to occipital cortex, and then superior longitudinal fasciculus and medial frontal gyrus, and then third nerve nuclei. Third nerve nuclei to go to third nerve nuclei and adhesive vesicle nuclei on both sides. Then further divided into two. First one, some fiber go to medial active, which result in medial convergence of eye, and the second part is inferior oblique muscle branch to ciliary, then go to branch to ciliary ganglion, and last one is
Assalamualaikum. Today I am going to explain the visual pathway. The second cranial nerve is called as the optic cranial nerve, which is the sensory. Human eye, human vision is the binocular tool we see with our both eyes, but the image which is produced is the only one and straight. And the visual field includes the both eye field. Each eye field includes each eye visual field includes the monoocular vision and binocular vision. Monoocular vision of the right eye is monoocular vision of the right eye and monoocular vision of the left eye. The main vision is the binocular vision. In the center of the binocular vision is the macular zone, and macular zone is the very important as it is responsible for the most accurate and most acute and colored and sharp vision. Each eye field is subdivided into two parts. The one is the temporal field and the other is the nasal field. Temporal field is towards the temporal bone or towards the ear, while towards the nose the field is the nasal field. The temporal field, each of these fields is subdivided into two parts. The lower temporal field and the upper temporal field, and right upper nasal field and right lower nasal field. Like this also present in the other eye. From the inverted image is produced on our retina, which is the wall of our eye at the back side. Each retina is subdivided also into two parts. The one is the temporal hemiretina, the other part is the nasal hemiretina. The fibers from the visual fibers from the light rays from the lower temporal field passes and produce the image on the nasal hemiretina, while the light rays from the nasal field produce the image on the temporal hemiretina. Then after the retina, it becomes the optic nerve. The optic nerve is the 4 cm long nerve, and it consists of about 1.2 million fibers and 1.2 million neurons. And this optic nerve becomes the optic chiasma when its middle nasal hemiretina fibers decussate, and about 53% of these fibers decussate, and this is called as optic chiasma, while the fibers from the temporal hemiretina passes ipsilaterally, and then it forms the optic tract, which are the 47% fibers. And the optic tract is winds around the cerebral peduncle, and then it reaches near the lateral geniculate body of the thalamus, and it subdivided into two parts, into two roots. The one is the medial root and the other one is the lateral root. The lateral root terminates mainly into the lateral geniculate body, and the lateral root is thick root, and it also gives temporal nucleus and superior cortex of the midbrain, while the medial root terminates as the supraoptic cranial fibers. Then from the lateral geniculate body, the optic radiations radiate, and optic radiations are also subdivided. The lateral loop is called as near loop, and the medial loop is called as is present towards the parietal lobe, and the medial loop is present towards the lateral loop. The medial loop is responsible for the superior quadrinopia, while the medial loop is responsible for the inferior quadrinopia. Then at the last, these fibers terminate into the visual center, which is present in the occipital lobe near the calcarine gyrus. In the calcarine gyrus, the main area which is the visual center is the striate area 17, and near to area 17 there is also area 18 and area 19, which are the associative area of the visual of the area 17. The area 18 is known as parastriate area, while the area 19 is known as peristriate area. Area 17 is responsible to identify the shapes, shape, color, size, and illumination and motion of an object, while the parastriate area and peristriate area helps us to identify the object according to its perception of the past memory or experience. Each eye consists of about 6 million cone cells, while about 120 rod cells. Cone cells are responsible for vision in the high light or more light, while the rod cells are responsible for the vision in the dark light or low light. We should see the vision near to about 20 inches and at 60 degree angle. And each optic nerve is present about 1.5 centimeter from the ophthalmic nerve and ophthalmic vein and ophthalmic artery, and it is present from and its distance from the center is about 4 millimeter. Thank you. Assalamualaikum. Today I am going to explain the difference between the oculomotor nerve palsy and internuclear ophthalmoplegia. Oculomotor nerve palsy is the palsy of the third motor nerve, which is the oculomotor. As we know that the oculomotor nerve supply to the 6 muscles of our eye, and which are medial rectus, superior rectus, inferior rectus, inferior oblique, superior levator palpebra, and stricter pupillary muscle, which is mainly supplied by the gingival nucleus, which is parasympathetic nucleus. But as its passage is with the third cranial nerve, so it will also damage. Medial rectus is responsible for the adduction of the eye. So if there is any complete palsy of the third nerve occur, then there will be adduction towards the medial side or eyeball remove. And the superior rectus muscle, as it is responsible for upward and inward movement of our eyeball, so the downward and outward movement of our eyeball occur. And the downward and lateral movement of or the lateral side of the movement of eyeball is also called as lateral squint or strabismus. This occurs due to the lateral rectus muscle and superior oblique muscles in opposite function. As the inferior oblique and the lateral rectus is not inferior oblique and medial rectus is not working, so lateral rectus and superior oblique, which is supplied by the fourth and sixth cranial nerve, they will perform their function unopposedly, and the result would be lateral split. Superior levator palpebra, as it causes the drooping of our as it is responsible for upward movement of our eyelid. So if it will not work, then it will lead to the ptosis. And the sphincter pupillae muscle is responsible for the constriction of our pupil. So as if it will not work, then it will causes the dilation of our pupil, which leads to the which is called as mydriasis. And there is also a slight ptosis, means the eyeball double vision which also occur in the palsy of the third cranial nerve, and there is also the loss of the accommodation reflex. As the loss of the accommodation reflex accommodation reflex occur because of the ciliary muscles. So if there is ciliary muscles are not working, so there will be loss of the accommodation reflex, and also the light reflex will occur because the pretectal nucleus are also not working. In the internuclear thermoplegia is the ocular movement disorder which presents the inability for the conjugate lateral gaze. And the conjugate lateral gaze and ophthalmoplegia is the weakness of the muscle due to the damage of the interneurons present in the two cranial nerves, which include the distant sixth cranial nerve and the third cranial nerve, oculomotor nerve. Both nerves are the motor nerves, and in normal case, if we ask the person to look towards the right side, the both eyeball will move towards the right side. There would be in the right eye there would be the lateral rectus work and abduction occur, and adduction occur in the left eye. In the normal case, if we ask the person to move to look towards the right side, the cerebral cortex, especially the frontal eye field area 8, sends signals to the paramedian condyle nucleus, reticular formation nucleus, which is present in the bones, and of the contralateral side. Of the contralateral side means right side, and then it sends its signal to the abducens nucleus, and abducens nucleus sends its signals to direct ipsilateral side of the lateral rectus muscle, and also send its signals to the oculomotor nucleus, which is sent by medial longitudinal fasciculus as it is present in the medial side, and it is medial side, and neuron fibers is present which are called as medial longitudinal fasciculus. From the medial longitudinal fasciculus, as it causes the stimulate the oculomotor nucleus, then the adduction due to its medial rectus muscle will occur. So if there is any lesion in this structure, there will be difference in there will be disturbed conjugate lateral gaze occur. If there is delay at this area, the frontal eye field, from the fibers of the frontal eye field, then there will be no movement of the both eyeballs towards the right side, although there will be slightly left side eyeball movement. And if there is the damage in the paramedian condyle nucleus, it will causes it will also causes the both eye not to move, both eyeball not to move towards the right side. And if there is the damage in the abducens nucleus, then it will abducens nucleus, then there will be again same reason, same causes, and both eyeball will not move towards the right side. If there is delay in its nucleus, not its nerve, abducens nerve, then it will lead to only the right eye will not move towards the right side, but left eye will move towards medially, and the right eyeball will remain at its normal position. And if there is lesion in medial longitudinal fasciculus, which is the main reason of the internuclear thermoplegia, then the left eye will left eyeball will remain at its medial point, and the right eye will move towards the right side. Therefore, the disturbance of conjugate lateral gaze occur.
Assalamu alaikum. My today's topic is consensual light reflex or pupillary light reflex. So when light enters our left eye, it passes from optic nerve, optic chiasma, optic tract, then it reaches the pretectal nuclei. So we can see there pretectal nuclei, then from pretectal nuclei it passes to the adventitious nucleus, and then it stimulates the third nerve nucleus, which gives its branches to inferior oblique muscle and ciliary ganglion, and these branches then stimulate ciliary nerves, which in turn constrict the sphincter pupillae muscles, and by the constriction of these muscles, our pupils constrict. So we can see that if light enters our left eye, then it passes from the optic nerve, then it reaches the optic chiasma, from where it goes to optic tract, and then it reaches the pretectal nucleus. From pretectal nucleus, it stimulates both of the adventitious nuclei. So from there we can see that if light enters only one eye, it completes the whole cycle and stimulates the both pupils and both pupils constrict. Assalamu alaikum. Today I will talk about the pseudoptosis, internal strabismus, and the diplopia related to the lateral rectus muscle. And as we know that ptosis is the dropping of eyelid due to the levator palpebrae superioris muscle damage, while the pseudoptosis is the false dropping of eyelid, which is caused by the reasons other than the levator palpebrae superioris muscle. And then if we talk about the internal strabismus, Assalamu alaikum. Today I will talk about pseudoptosis, internal strabismus, and the ptosis is related to the lateral rectus muscle. And we know that the ptosis is the dropping of eyelid due to the damage to sphincter pupillae muscle. And if we talk about the internal strabismus, then strabismus is a condition in which both the eyes do not line up in one line. And if one eye moves slightly inward than the second eye, then then this condition is called internal strabismus or astropia. And now we will talk about the diplopia related to the lateral rectus muscle. And we know that the lateral rectus muscle is responsible for the abduction of the eyeball, and it is controlled by abducens nerve. And the abducens nerve has the longest intracranial course, and it travels too much in the cisterna pontis. It travels cisterna pontis.
Today my topic are papillary light reflex and abducens nerve palsy. So shining of torch light in left eye, optic nerve transmitted into optic chiasma. Optic chiasma transmitted into optic nerve, optic tract transmitted into few fibers go to periapital nuclei of same or even opposite side, and forward transmitted into adingle Westphal nuclei of both sides, third nerve nuclei of both sides, and forward transmitted into branch to inferior oblique relay in ciliary ganglion, and forward convert into short ciliary nerve of both sides, and sphincter pupillae muscles of both eye constrict. So finally both pupils constrict. Abducens nerve paralysis. Sixth nerve paralysis is one of the commonest false localizing signs in case with raised intracranial pressure. Its susceptibility to such damage due to its long course in the cisterna pontis to sharp bend over the superior border of the petrous temporal bone and the downward shift of the brainstem toward the foramen magnum, resulting in medial squint and diplopia.
Today my topic is optical nerve. The optical nerve is a bundle of more than 1 million nerve fibers, also known as the second cranial nerve or cranial nerve. Second, it is the second of several pairs of cranial nerves. It transmits sensory information for vision in the form of electric impulse from the eye to the brain. The optical nerve is the most a true nerve because it is actually an extension of the brain. In fact, it is myelinated by the oligodendroids rather than Schwann cells. Therefore, cranial nerve first and second are the part of CNS, and the rest are considered part of penis. Today my topic is supranuclear connections of third and fourth cranial nerve. The name of third cranial nerve is oculomotor nerve. The oculomotor nerve has three main motor functions: innervation to the pupil and lens, and a second function is innervation to the upper eyelid, and the third function is innervation of eye muscles that allow for visual tracking and gaze functions. The name of fourth cranial nerve is a tracheal nerve, and it is the one of the ocular motor nerve that controls eye movement. The tracheal nerve, while the smallest of this canal nerve, but it has the longest intercranial course, as it is only nerve that have dorsal exist from brainstem.
Today is my topic about the extorsion and intorsion of an eye. So let's talk about the extorsion. During the extorsion, the eyeball is rotated in such a way that the cornea turns upwards and outwards, and due to the construction of an inferior oblique. intorsion due to the intorsion of the eye. Intorsion, during the intorsion, the eyeball is rotating, so the cornea turns downward and inward due to the construction of the superior oblique and rectus muscle.